is the one and only Hall of Fame promoter, Mr. Frank Warren. Good evening, Frank.
Good evening, Gareth. Good
evening, Frank. Evening, mate.
All right, Nelson.
Where do we find you tonight?
I'm home.
Oi!
I'm trying to watch BBC television, Court 16, because my granddaughter's a ball girl on there.
Oh,
hold on,
phenomenal.
Frank, let me picture the scene here. You're sitting in your chair, you've got your glass of red wine. Am I right? Am I right so far?
Yeah, well, not at the moment. I'm up now, but I was.
Brilliant.
Well, congratulations. Is she a tennis player then?
She's very sporty, yeah. Ada's very, very sporty, and as I say, we're all very proud of her. She's brilliant.
That's beautiful.
If you're not at the grandchildren's football on a Sunday morning, you're watching them at Wimbledon. Brilliant stuff, Frank. Let me get down to business. Obviously, we saw you in here a couple of weeks ago. Great news that Joyce has taken the rematch with Zhilei Zhang, and you've got that here at Wembley Arena on September the 23rd. We're all waiting now. I know you probably won't reveal it with us tonight, but if you do, brilliant. We're all waiting for the next move of Tyson Fury, which you've called a game changer for the division. Can you tell us any more on this Saturday night?
No, but that's it'll happen soon, and there'll be an announcement sometime, I hope, next week, and where all will be revealed. But our guys are busy. I mean, what's held this heavyweight division situation up has been, the proposals to do fights in Saudi with skill challenge people, Prince Khalid and his team, and unfortunately it has been pushed back a few times, and that's what's held up the whole division. But I think everybody's aware now that nothing's going to happen with skill set this year, so that's why all these fights are happening. And we've made our fights a long while ago, for Joyce, also for Daniel Dubois. So we've not sat around waiting. We've been working and trying to make fights for Tyson. People have been waiting to see what happens in Saudi before they decide, but we've gone off in another direction now, and we are where we are. And I know now that obviously it's now that Joshua's going to fight Dillian Whyte, and that's obviously come about because this situation with skill set saying that they're not going to be having any fight until next February.
Oh, what you're saying, so that even Anthony-Joshua won't fight, presumably Wilder, till next February. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know what's going to happen with that. I mean, all I know is he didn't want to fight Tyson for the title. That's all I know. But anyway, look, whether he gets on with what he does is his business.
But do you respect the fact he's taking the Dillian Whyte fight?
No, not really. What else is he going to do? I mean, he either does that or retire. I mean, what I would have respected if rather than fighting Dillian, who I like Dillian, by the way, he's a nice bloke. What I would have respected more is if he had the ambition to fight for the WBC title, which obviously he didn't have.
We still need to see. Spencer and I were talking in the first segment tonight, and obviously we're observers on the sport and we have strong opinions about it and we work alongside you, and sometimes we don't always agree with you, but we've had 5 massive heavyweight fights in the last, I would say, 5 years, and 3 are with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. 2 are Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, but we need to see all the other twain meet, and I completely agree with you. Joshua needs to fight Fury, Wilder needs to fight Usyk, Wilder needs to fight Joshua, Fury needs to fight Joshua. If I've confused them all there, basically there are humongous fights there, Frank, that can be made in the next 2 or 3 years that almost have to be made in this era.
Look, to be honest, from a British fan's point of view, Tyson fighting Joshua Usyk was probably top of the list, but neither of them, despite what they say, neither of them wanted to do it. They made the offers were made to them. Everybody keeps saying about Tyson, or it's nonsense about Tyson being greedy with Usyk. That's just a nonsense. He would have made a big payday with Usyk, and now he's going to be sitting on the sidelines, Usyk, especially when Daniel beats him. But he's getting, he gets a purse, which is far, far less money than he would have got to fight Tyson. But that's his choice. As for AJ, as I just said, he didn't want the fight, and the excuse that was put out was Eddie Hearn saying that that Tyson wasn't serious, which again was was pathetic and ridiculous. But anyway, look, that's all happened. They got to do what they've got to do, and we move forward with our situation. And our guys are all busy. We're keeping them busy. They want to be busy, and they're ambitious fighters, and they're fighting at the best. And with Daniel, he's fighting for the title. It doesn't get any bigger than that as far as he's concerned. You've got Joyce in there looking to get back his interim title, which makes him the mandatory challenger to the winner of Usyk and Daniel. So you can't knock his ambition. He didn't walk away from Zhang. And then obviously Tyson's out, as I was saying, we'll be announcing next week who he's fighting. So we're very, very much on point in moving our guys. We're not been sitting around waiting for something to happen and having their destiny being controlled by somebody else. We are making.
I do take that point actually, that you need to create your own timeline for your fighters and not worry about what's being said over there and the available money, because that's what swung it the whole time. Spence?
Absolutely. Listen, Frank, how good is it now for the boxing fans? And the frustration of those last couple of years, the fights that we were meant to get and we haven't got, and now we seem to be getting them all over the line. And I think the ball will just keep rolling now. And I do think over the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to see all these guys boxing each other. But, how refreshing is it that we've got these fights over the line? Credit to Joyce for going into that immediate rematch. Yeah. That is a huge move, and I respect him so much for that. Credit to anthonyjoshua, actually, for taking the Dillian Whyte fight before going directly to Deontay Wilder. And also Tyson Fury, the pound-for-pound number one. We're hearing it's imminent news we're going to get that he's going to be back in the ring again. It's great. And young Daniel Dubois as well, stepping up against Alexander Usyk. You've got to respect him for that as well. It's excellent for the fans, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. But you know what? We've worked hard. Queensbury have worked very hard with the guys that we look after in getting them into the positions to make it happen. And that's what we've done. We've got two of our guys into the number one spot, and Joe's already defended his title, and unfortunately it got stopped by the Dotzer against Zhang. But that as you say, you've got to absolutely take his hat off to him for stepping up and taking the rematch. Most people wouldn't do that. I can think of a few big names who wouldn't do that, but he's done it. He's stepped straight up, no messing about.
Frank, is Tyson Fury going to be fighting in the UK? Can you confirm that?
I can confirm that he'll be fighting.
I've never known you so tight-lipped. There's loads of rumours coming out of America. He was going to come on tonight. Ariel Helwani, who's covering UFC International Fight Week right now in Vegas. I don't know if he's in New York. He per Ariel Helwani, and obviously he works for BT Sport. He interviewed you and Joe the other day here at talkSPORT for BT Sport, kind of saying it's Francis and Ngannou. I'm fascinated by that fight anyway, and I think if that is the game changer, it does create a crossover with MMA fans and boxing fans like Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather did, then I think that's fine right now in the interim situation. But we all want to see Tyson fight Alexander Usyk for the undisputed title.
Listen, we just want to see Tyson Fury back in the ring. He's the number one heavyweight in the world right now, and he brings a huge audience. Whether that's Francis Ngannou, Alexander Usyk, we just want to see him back.
Frank, when Larry Holmes, when you were around working in the 80s, do you recall the situation where Larry Holmes didn't fight everyone, and then in the late 80s Don King created this series which Mike Tyson came out in the end as number one in the world? That was a similar time for a little bit in the heavyweight division when fights weren't evolving because of the chessboard and rivalries at the time and promoters.
I don't know. I was reading. Well, I think you're referring to that piece in Box News, which I didn't agree with last week. Matt Christie. Sometimes I just don't agree with what he said about that. Larry Holmes was one of the greatest heavyweights.
Yeah, 7-year reign. Yeah,
agree.
Had a fabulous. Probably had the best jab of any heavyweight that you've seen. Fabulous fighter. And brave, fighting 15-round fights back then. And I hear all these things that that are said, but. For me, you can't compare all these eras. You can look back and say, right, the Bum a Mump Club that Joe Lewis before my time went on. You can look at all sorts of things. Fighters were busy, were busy then, but they weren't. They weren't on. Those fights weren't. Back in the Joe Louis days and the Marciano, they weren't massively they were massive fights, but they weren't big TV fights. It was big radio audiences, live audiences and radio audiences. And things have evolved and moved on. You know, Muhammad Ali, in his day, he had his, you know, his thing of going on the road. I can remember fighting, what's his name, the Belgian fighter, the German
Johansson, wasn't it?
No, I can't remember his name. There's anyway, it comes to me. Lovers, was it Rudy Lovers? I can't remember his name.
Lovers, it was, yeah.
I think I'm not sure if it was, but anyway, whoever it was. But he did that. He fought Al Blue Lewis in Ireland. There was lots of guys on his record that you look down at, you say, bloody hell, you know, who are they? But the fact of the matter was, he kept busy and he fought, you know, what was around. And what's happened, unfortunately, with Tyson is these offers have been made, and in the last couple of years, the emphasis isn't about I want to fight for the title. It's about where can I get the most money, and that's what's gone on, and that has disrupted the. You know, it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing when it happens because the boxers earn phenomenal money. Everybody involved does. But when it doesn't happen, all it's done is stop the division from being active. Because everybody's, well, not so much us, but everybody's sitting around waiting for things, you know, waiting for this big payday, and that's why it's gone a bit dead. So, you know, I don't. It's a different era, and it's different reasons.
Absolutely, it was the Dutchman, by the way, Rudy Lubbers. You were right,
yeah,
Frank.
Sorry, was it? Right,
yeah. Frank, thank you very much for joining us. Go back to that red wine, and I hope no one's getting cracked by bulls at the at Wimbledon right now.
Rain stopped play the last time. Anyway, I'll have another look in a minute.
Yeah, but listen, thanks very much for taking time out on your Saturday. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks so much, mate.
Thank you, Frank. Cheers.